The following training will give student organization leaders a brief overview of finances for student organizations at NAU. This training is brought to you by the Office of Leadership and Engagement. What we're going to be covering today is three main topics: financial basics, bank accounts, and funding opportunities, both within and beyond NAU. First up, financial basics. So it's really important that all student organizations understand that the Office of Leadership and Engagement does not provide oversight of any financial information for clubs, orgs, or chapters. Therefore, each organization will need to sufficiently transfer any financial information to future officers during that election and transition process of the year. Specifically, things that you're going to want to remember to share with your future officers will be that bank account information, how to access it, get them added to the bank account, things like that. And then also the federal tax ID number. It can also be called the employer identification number or the EIN. Some FAQs about federal tax ID numbers are in the student organization manual, and some broad overviews of transition checklists are also in the student org manual. So as leadership and engagement don't oversee bank accounts and financials, this means that each org, chapter, and club can choose first off whether to open a bank account or not. This is not required for any organization on campus. And two, which banking institution to choose for their financial needs. Some banks to consider that are listed in our student org manual include the Bank of America, Chase, National Bank of Arizona, 1AZ Credit Union, PNC Bank, and Wells Fargo. Keep in mind, though, that each club also has the responsibility to research requirements for opening a bank account, any fees that need to be included for whichever banking institution that they choose. Next, I'm going to cover the funding opportunities at NAU. Please keep in mind that these are available to registered organizations at NAU. So if your org is non-registered, unaffiliated, or is not currently in good standing with the Office of Leadership and Engagement, you may not be able to and likely will not be able to access these funds. NAU.edu/club resources is where you can access more up-to-date information about all funding opportunities for clubs, orgs, and chapters. You'll go down to the Funding Opportunities tab, and then you'll be able to see more information. I have 6 funding opportunities that I'm going to briefly cover on this slide and then cover in more detail on future slides. The first is STAC funding, which is for high-profile events to the NAU student body at Flagstaff Mountain Campus. Next is the Lumberjacks Thrive funding opportunity, which is for events with any type of alumni presence. Sodexo helps fund catered food at events or meetings, typically on campus. Jax Funder is an NAU crowdsourcing platform, which offers a little bit more flexibility to orgs. Concessions is a first come, first served type of opportunity for student organizations to work a concession stand at an athletic game. And finally, ASNAU has a wide variety of funding opportunities, including the Appropriations Fund, the Room Reservation Fund, travel reimbursement, and more. Just to keep in mind, ASNAU does work with STAC to fund the Room Reservation Fund, but applications are processed by ASNAU, so it's in that category just for simplicity's sake. First, we'll cover the funding from the Student Activities Council, or commonly abbreviated to STAC. You can contact them via email at stac@nau.edu, or you can visit their website at nau.edu/stac. Some eligibility requirements for this fund include that they have to be events that are open and free to the entire NAU student body located on Flagstaff campus. Additionally, they will require a marketing plan to reach that NAU student body. Awards can go up to $10,000, and proposals must be submitted a minimum of 45 days prior to the event date. Some restrictions on this fund include being unable to fund events for only club members, for class credit, or for fundraising opportunities. There are additional restrictions on these funds that you would be able to understand further as you go through the STAC process. The process to getting STAC funding can be seen in the rainbow boxes at the bottom of the screen. So first, in the orange box, you would submit your proposal. Then in the orange box, STAC would go ahead and review your proposal, and depending on their review, you would get your approval status. After that, you would then meet with the STAC committee. They will help you with certain details, fund certain things, and then in the blue box, your event day will happen. Following the event, you will be requested to collect feedback and reflections from attendees, so that way there is some additional justification for your event and the success of your event. The Lumberjacks Thrive is the next financial opportunity that we'll cover. It is funded by the NAU Alumni Association, and I have their contact information on the left side of the screen there. You can email them at alumniga@nau.edu, or you can reach them by phone at 928-523-1785, or you can view their website online at nau.edu/thrive-grant. Some of the eligibility requirements include it being a student-led event that creatively connects with Lumberjack alumni, and applying for the funds a minimum of 8 weeks before the event. If you do qualify for this fund, there are some expectations that go along with it, including being aware that some funding can happen prior to the event and other funds will need to be reimbursed afterwards. That your club or org would be required to collect certain information like attendee count, alumni, names, etc. You will need to complete a post-event survey form and send a thank you note to any participating alumni at your event. The Sodexo programming funds are one of the most commonly utilized funding opportunities at NAU by student organizations. It is funded by NAU Catering. You can reach them at catering@nau.edu or by phone at 928-523-4981. Student organizations can use up to $500 per school year or $250 per semester. There are some steps to apply. So first, you'll need to plan an on-campus event predominantly for students that does not require admission fees. There is a small exception for off-campus events, but predominantly these are used on on-campus events. Next, you'll need to submit a catering request in CaterTracks, which is just how you pick which food do you want and you figure out the cost of your catering order. Next, you'll need to have a student organization officer submit the application a minimum of 7 days before the event and hear back from Sodexo for approval. There's a few other things to keep in mind. For example, foods cannot be resold or exchanged for a donation after using Sodexo programming funds. And for other affordable food options, you can submit a food service waiver request form for prepackaged off-campus food that cannot be created by NAU Catering and or that isn't offered by Sodexo. Jax Funder is an online crowdsourcing platform hosted and supported by the NAU Foundation. If you're aiming to raise between $2,500 to $15,000 in support of projects for student engagement, new research, or other organizational efforts that you're trying to put on, you should definitely check out this opportunity. To start the process of this, you can email deborah.floyd@nau.edu, or you can skip straight to submitting an application. On the right side of this slide, I have some photos of what it could look like if your effort was put onto the website. So we see one example of Louis Cupboard that when this photo was taken, they had earned $6,395. Below that, we can see that you can fund specific events or specific clubs. So on the left side of that image, we can see that the ASME, or American Society of Mechanical Engineers, has earned $835 for their annual escape room events. And NAU, American Society of Civil Engineers, has also earned $125 for their club in general. And then on the right, we see that the NAU dance team has earned 42% of their goal from 40 donors, amounting to $8,580. So you can have a lot of success through this platform. They will help you figure out what your goals should be, how long you should leave it on the website, how to phrase your initiative so that way you can use the funds in the ways that your club or org wants or needs to later. And I also included the hyperlink on current initiatives. So feel free to look at some of the current initiatives on the JAX Funder website to see, how you could potentially advertise your own fundraising efforts. Alrighty, we've reached NAU concessions. This is funded by NAU Athletics and NAU Catering. It's a bit of a combination effort, and these two departments are the ones that are in charge of coordinating everything. So you get the opportunity to earn a percentage of sales at an NAU sports event for your club or org. And one thing that they advertise is that there are up to 80 opportunities to volunteer each school year. To ensure you're reaching the most up-to-date contacts for these concessions funding opportunities, please go to nau.edu/club resources, club funding, and that way you'll be able to see the current email contacts. Because they can change quite rapidly, they're not in this PowerPoint today. So you will email the following information to that contact. 1, the name of your club, no acronyms. 2, a first and last name of someone that's going to coordinate for your club. 3, a valid NAU email address. 4, a phone number. And then 5, a completed W-9 form. These can be pretty amazing opportunities with the opportunity to earn fairly large sums of money from volunteering at these events. Last but not least, I will be going over the funding opportunities provided by the Associated Students of Northern Arizona University, or more commonly referred to as ASNAU. ASNAU is the undergraduate student government, and it is funded by the 23 fee, predominantly from undergraduate students who have opted in. They provide a wide array of support, as we've previously discussed. Some examples include the Appropriations Fund, which allow clubs, orgs, and chapters to purchase needed items in advance. However, these applications must be submitted 4 weeks before they're required. The Room Reservation Fund for all room or space costs on campus. The Travel Reimbursement Fund, which is when you do travel, you can get reimbursed or funded afterwards based on receipts that you've saved, and more beyond this slide. Each club is allotted up to $3,000 for reservations alone, and then a separate amount of up to $4,000 for other club activities each year. There can be some strict requirements around what is allowed and what isn't allowed to be purchased by ASNAU, and so I wanted to provide some examples of what ASNAU can fund. They can fund club marketing materials, NAU fleet vehicles, testing at the NAU Testing Center, Sodexo or otherwise approved food, conference registrations, club t-shirts, rental cars, mileage and flights, graduation and certification exams, and some intangible items. And also I have some examples of what ASNAU cannot fund. For example, this includes hotels or lodging, food during travel, tangible goods, anything for class credit, items not approved by the ASNAU Appropriations Committee, or items that violate policies or mission statements of Arizona, Northern Arizona University, or the Associated Students of Northern Arizona University policies. If an NAU funding opportunity does not meet the needs of your organization, I wanted to provide some recommendations beyond these NAU resources. So one, you can put on fundraising events, and they can take so many forms. You can hold a bingo night, a car wash, a face painting event. You can charge entrance fees for yard games like donut on a string or ring toss. You can put on talent shows. You can pet sit, you can do tutoring, and these are just a few. We do have an additional guide that you can look at that lists so many more ideas to get your brain flowing on what type of fundraising event your club or org can host. And then on the right, I do have a list of local restaurants that offer something called percentage nights. This is taken from our student organization manual. And so essentially your org can reach out to a local restaurant and say, hello, we will do all of the advertising. Can we get a percentage of your funds, your sales that night, if we get enough people going to your restaurant? Some that we have listed in our manual include Cafe Rio, Chili's, Chipotle, Country Meats, Crumble Cookies, Karma Sushi Bar and Grill, Krispy Kreme Donuts, Little Caesars, Papa Murphy's, Panda Express, Panera Bread, Raising Cane's, See's Candy, and some Burros. Lastly, some tips for success. It's really important to market and promote your events. It's also important to set clear goals for your campaign. How much are you trying to fundraise? What methods are you going to use to try to reach your goals? And then finally, don't forget to get creative. I have 3 more ideas for funding that you can consider. 1, sell merchandise. And when you're doing so, consider local needs, whether that be the students or the community. Some examples can include daily necessities, school needs, hygiene needs, snack supplies, or care packages. You could also consider original artwork, digital prints, or custom notebooks. Next, be timely. Consider holidays and seasons to theme your fundraising ventures, from back-to-school kits to candygrams. And third and finally, seek sponsorships or partnerships. You'll want to build relationships with local businesses, alumni, community members, and staff or faculty. You can also organize collaborations with businesses for coupon books or ask support for your club or org through material goods. Can you provide this for a big event we're trying to do? And finally, apply for university or community grants. If that's a little outside your reach, consider working with departments that are seeking or have grant funding that they can put towards your events. Overall, don't forget to thank anyone who helped with your funding or your fundraising opportunities. So like the Lumberjacks Thrive requires you to write a thank you note to the alumni participants, think about who else you can thank. Think about how that heartfelt message will encourage funders or sponsors to continue to financially support clubs, orgs, and chapters on campus, or just your club or org. Thank you so much for attending this training. Please reach out to our office or our email at studentorgs@nau.edu if you have any additional questions. And we wish you luck as you explore the financial domain of student clubs, orgs, and chapters at NAU.